Hi everyone, hope you're all okay and staying safe and well. So welcome to this week's class. If we just start thinking about the placement of those feet. So think about sinking down into that mat, really focus on where that weight is through your feet. Think about the head coming up towards the ceiling through the crown and the shoulders dropping down the back. And then start taking some breath, so inhaling. As you're inhaling, remember you're thinking about your ribs pushing out sideways. As you're exhaling, you're imagining them coming back into the centre. So think about, imagine you've got your fingers across your ribs. As you're inhaling, the fingers are gradually pushing apart. As you exhale, the fingers are gradually coming back together again. So really focus on those feet. And we'll just start with a warm up through the body. So we're going to start at the feet this time. So we'll just gently start just rolling from side to side on those feet. As you're doing it, really try and focus on making sure that the feet stay nice and soft, so you're not kind of gripping as you go to the side. So it's just a nice soft movement. Notice which parts of the foot want to lift. So do your toes want to lift on one foot? If they do, think about just spreading the toes, replacing them down onto that mat, and then starting to sway a little bit. It's quite a good way to think about your foot placement if you spread the toes and then place them so they're not cramping up and gripping. And then we'll just come back to the centre, and then we'll just start with some gentle bending of the knees. But as you're doing this, again, I want you to really think about that foot placement. And again, thinking about your breath flow. So as you're doing this one, you're not lifting the heel. So if I stand sideways on, you're just gently bending the knees, so you're almost pushing down through the feet. So almost imagine you're walking down some imaginary steps. Those imaginary steps are your mat, so you're pushing down with the feet. So really starting to get a good stable base to work from. And you're going to keep the walking going without lifting those heels, remember, and without lifting those toes. And then we're going to come into some backwards arm circles. So you've got to think about the rhythm of those feet and the arms obviously moving at different times. So you're keeping that 1, 2 with the feet and thinking about that breath flow. So got a few bits for you to think about. And then starting to switch on through the centre, so just drawing back through the tummy button. And then we're going to have a change of direction, so taking those arms forward. So keep that rhythm going with those feet, keep stepping down those imaginary steps. We'll do one more big circle and then take those arms down by your sides. Okay, and then just place the feet nicely on the mat, and we'll just stop you walking with your knees now. And then we're just going to take the hand up onto the head, keep the shoulder dropped. You're going to gently take the head over to the side. So creating that stretch by dropping the shoulder down. If you lift the shoulder, that's going to prevent that stretch. So reaching down towards that knee with your shoulder. And we'll have a swap onto the other side to make sure those feet are nice and central. And again, just reaching down to the knee with your shoulder and gently taking the head over in the other direction. So you might find that you get a little bit of a pull through the shoulder. And then we're going to swap sides again. So again, reaching down with the shoulder, taking the head across. Making sure you don't push your hip out as you're doing it, so try and keep the hips centred over the feet. And once more on the other side. edge of your mat now. We're going to do 2 full roll downs, and then we're going to do half, and then we're going to walk our hands away. So we're going to do 2 and a half, and we're going to walk our hands forward down onto that mat. So spread those toes, make sure the feet nice and centred, and then inhale to prepare. As you exhale, just tuck the chin and start just unstucking that spine, 1 vertebra at a time. Remember, keeping the knees soft, keeping the arms heavy. Don't want any tension in those knees. You don't want to be pushing that tailbone out. If you feel like you're a little bit tight through the hamstrings, just take the weight forward a little bit, let the arms hang. Just to use this as a little bit of a stretch through those hamstrings. And then start to reset the spine. And that will kind of give you a little bit more awareness of those hips staying above your feet. If you're tight with your hamstrings, you might find that you want to push that bum out behind you. So just think about nice sequence of movement through the spine. Keep nice and soft with the knees as you're coming down. And then as you're getting down to near the mat, you can just take the weight just gently forward a little bit. Try and think about the hips coming over those ankles. So you incorporate a little bit of a hamstring stretch, and then replacing that spine. And then we're going to do a half. So inhale, exhale, and set the spine 1 vertebra at a time in your own time. And just take the weight forward very slightly if you just want to give those hamstrings a little stretch. And then we're going to walk those hands away. And we're just going to come down onto the mat. So we'll just warm the back up a little bit. So put those hands into your diamond position. Think about the neutral position through your spine and your pelvis, even though you're on your front. So you don't want to be tilting the hips backwards, you don't want to be tilting them up towards the head. You want to try and keep nice and neutral, little tuck back with that tummy button, switch on through that centre, switching on these muscles around your lower back. And then remember, we're thinking about lengthening through the spine. So you're going to inhale, exhale, draw that line with your nose. And then keeping that tummy button tucked, just to switch on those muscles through your lower back. If you find that the full position is too much, you can just come up onto your elbows and think about lengthening through that spine. So whichever you're comfortable with. If anything feels uncomfortable, then just reduce that range of movement. Keep the feet nice and soft, remember, so you don't want to be pushing the feet down and lifting the knees. And again, really focus on that breath flow. Inhale, exhale, top of the tummy button, draw a line with that nose, length through the spine. And remember, think about your head and neck as an extension of your spine. So you don't want a big break at the top of the spine. You want a nice line, so no pushing back with that head. Still think about length through the spine as you're coming back down. And again, draw a line with that nose. Protect that lower back by just switching on through the core. Keep that nice line through that spine, so no broken line. We're going to do 2 more, so keep nice and long through the spine as you're coming back down again, remember. And again, draw that tummy button away from that imaginary pin under your mat. Lengthen through the spine, draw a line with the nose. And back up again. Keep that nice line through the neck. Keep those feet nice and soft so we're not pushing down. And switching on through those glute muscles. And then we're going to come on to our last one. So again, think length through that spine, tummy button, protecting that lower back by drawing away from the mat. And breathe. Keep long through the spine. And lowering gently back down. Okay, so we're just going to roll gently over onto our backs. And just start thinking about your placement on your mat. So firstly, think about your alignment through your hips, knees and feet. So if you take your feet together, kick your heels out, kick your toes out to meet, you should be somewhere around hip width apart. So you don't want your knees falling out and you don't want your feet too far out and your knees falling in. So you want that nice, kick the heels out, kick the toes out. Spread those toes and just try and get a nice placement through those feet. So today we're going to be focusing on correctness of placement on the mat and correctness of form. So we're going to be working through some of the classic exercises, but we're going to be really focusing on how our bodies are working and making sure that we're doing the exercises efficiently and safely. Just as a reminder, as I haven't seen you in class for a while, so just give us all a bit of a refresher on the basics. So your ABC, your alignment, your breathing, and your core or your centre, whichever one you want to call it. So just think about your pelvis. Does it feel nice and equal on that mat? Have you got one side that feels like it's lifting slightly, either up towards your ear or up towards the ceiling? So just have a little gentle roll from side to side. Just try and get that nice feeling of being in the centre, feeling nice and heavy through that pelvis. We're just going to have a little run up through the rib cage. So think about your rib cage being nice and wide without pushing it up towards the ceiling. So thinking about getting as much of the width of that back down onto the mat as possible. So just hug your arms around you and you'll feel that back open up. And then try and keep that nice wide feeling through those shoulder blades and just gently take the arms back down by your sides. So remember, we don't want these shoulders creeping up. Your stability through your shoulder blades just as important as your stability through your pelvis. And then a little bit on the head placement. So you don't ever want your head coming back like this, because remember then you're creating that break at the top of the spine in that nice line. So just gently nod the chin down to the chest, think about that length increasing through the back of the neck. So you can almost imagine somebody just drawing the head just very gently up towards the ceiling without lifting it off the mat, and then a very gentle tilt backwards. And again, so each time just increasing that length through that neck. And then just keep that nice long length through the neck. So you should feel now like you're just nice and even, nice and heavy, sinking down into that mat. And then we'll just have a run through, so we've looked at your alignment. We'll just look a little bit at your breathing. So you can take your hands just across your ribs, so you've got your fingers meeting in the centre. As you inhale, you feel those fingers push gently apart. As you exhale, you'll feel them just gently come together again. So just take some breath. So you can breathe slowly in through the mouth. Really think about just gently allowing the fingers to come apart, and then exhaling. So in through the nose, out through those lips, just gently parted. And as you're exercising, keep your lips gently parted. If you start to close your mouth and clamp your jaw shut, It creates a lot of tension. It's very difficult for you to breathe efficiently, and it will affect your movement. Okay, and then we'll just have a refresher on switching on your core or your centre. So all the muscles around the trunk and the big muscles in your bum, those big stabilising muscles. So just think about just gently drawing back and up slightly with that tummy button, only to about 20 to 30% of your maximum effort, so you don't want to be pulling it in so much that you can't breathe. Or you can think about just drawing up those pelvic floor muscles, or some people think about walking into a cold sea, and as it comes up you sort of go and draw those muscles away from that cold water. Okay, so we should all be in nice alignment now, have a nice position on that mat, be breathing efficiently and keeping that core just gently switched on. So we'll start to find that neutral pelvis now, so we're looking at that optimal position through your pelvis and spine. So just gently rolling the hips up towards your head, gently rolling them away down towards your feet. Even as you're doing this, just make a mental note of where your pelvis is. Do you feel like you've got more weight down one side? Do you feel like one side doesn't move as well? So really just imagine you're in a tube. You've got to keep that pelvis nice and central. And then we're going to just make the movement a little smaller and smaller each time, just until you come to rest just somewhere in the centre. So you don't want to be pushing yourself into an unnatural position. Some people have got more of a curve in their lower back, some people are a little bit flatter. So you don't want to be pushing yourself out of your natural position too much. Okay, and then we're just going to take the hands out into a T shape. Keep that tummy button drawn back, keep those shoulders down towards the floor. Think about those feet. I'm just going to gently take the knees over to one side, and we're going to take the head over to the opposite side. Keeping those shoulders down onto that mat. And then we're going to just draw the knees over to the other side. And the head down to the opposite side. So as you do this, you can start to think about switching those abdominal muscles on a little bit. So you can think about drawing the knees back to the centre as if you're drawing them through something heavy. So we're not just lying there waggling the knees about, we're really starting to engage, starting to get this working with your body weight. So Pilates is a body weight exercise, so you're using the weight of your body. So you want to make it as challenging as possible. So think about the breath flow, think about keeping those shoulders nice and stable. And again, we do one more to each side. Even think about as your feet come back to the centre, think about that foot placement. Make sure your toes aren't clamping up down or lifting off the mat as you come back into the centre. Good. Okay. So we're just going to make that a little bit more challenging now. So think about drawing back the tummy button. One at a time, we're going to bring those knees up into your tabletop position. So think about having a nice right angle behind your knees, a nice right angle from the body towards your thighs. And we're going to do the same thing. So obviously now you're having to work a little harder because you haven't got the support of the floor on those knees, on those feet, sorry. So really focus on nice steady movement. Try and keep yourself in that neutral pelvis position. So what we don't want to do is bring those knees further up towards the body as you're doing this, or you're coming out of your neutral position and you're starting to cheat. So remember, breath flow. Think about engaging the centre. Make sure you're not using the hands to push yourself back over. Okay, so we're going to to challenge a little more. You're going to take those arms up to the centre now, up towards that ceiling. So you might have to reduce your movement a little bit, because you don't want those shoulders lifting. So if you've got to reduce your movement, that's fine. We want to keep that stability. If you take your legs all the way over, you'll find that'll happen and you'll lose the stability of that opposite shoulder. Okay, we're going to do one more to each side. Keep those shoulders down. Breathe. Back to the centre. Give those knees a hug up towards the chest. And have a little roll around, back a little bit of a massage. So you'll find once you lose your arm support, that will challenge your shoulder stability. So get everything working through the centre to keep you in that nice, strong, central position. Okay, so again we're going to look at your stability through the trunk. So we're going to come back up into your tabletop position, and again we're going to take the arms up towards the ceiling. So we're going to do what we would normally do as our dead bugs, but this time we're going to keep your arms completely still. So drawing back with the tummy button, nice right angle, not a light angle, a right angle, and shoulders nice and stable. And we're going to take the leg out and down. So you can inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So think about blowing the leg away, inhaling it back, blowing it away, inhaling it back. And the further you take your leg down to the mat, the more of a challenge it's going to be, because it's more of a lever and more of a load. So remember, keep drawing back with the tummy button, keep breathing. As you take the legs straight, make sure that back doesn't come out of that neutral position. So we don't want the tummy button pushing up towards the ceiling, we want it drawing back. Okay, we're going to do 2 more on each leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and rest. Well done. So take those legs out straight, just give those hip flexors a little bit of a stretch off. So keep one leg nice and long down the mat, and just bring the opposite leg up towards the body. So you should feel a nice pull at the front of the hip. Try not to allow the leg to rotate out, or you will be not getting full benefit. Opposite leg straight. Knee up towards the ceiling again, make sure you're not rotating out or in that leg. Good. Okay. So we're going to look now at the strengthening of the muscles underneath that body, and we're going to do that by coming up into your shoulder bridge. So keep your feet in line with those hips. For this one, it's really important, and I know some of you do this in class, and obviously I'm there to correct you, but make sure your feet aren't coming wider than your hips. So remember, hand to tip, feet together, kick out the heels, kick out the toes, and you should be just about hip width apart then. So for this one, we're really focusing on building the strength through the back, strength through those glute muscles, trying not to allow these hamstrings to take over too much. So give the toes a little spread out, get that nice foot placement. You're going to inhale to prepare, tucking the hips up towards the head, so you've got that nice little roll of those hips. Think about the hips coming up towards that ceiling. Have a little mental note whether your hips are nice and level. You don't want one hip coming down. If you're a little bit weaker through one of the big muscles in your bottom, you might find that your hip drops. So just have a little feel of your hips. Keep those bits of string, pulling them up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to take the arms up over the head. So you might find this one a little challenging. If you do, just take the hands as far as they will comfortably go. And then we're going to come back down again. So by taking your arms over your head, you're destabilising the centre, making these muscles work much harder. So again, gently curl the hips. You're going to just draw the spine one vertebra at a time away from that mat. Hips up towards the ceiling. Little mental note of these hips level. Switching on through the glute muscles. Inhale, exhale. Don't let anything drop back down towards the mat. Those bits of string pulling up towards the ceiling. Keep with it until the hands go down, and then you're going to replace that spine one vertebra at a time. So making sure that you're doing this exercise nice and slowly, nice placement through those feet, and again, curling that spine one vertebra at a time. Those hips being pulled up towards that ceiling. Mental note, are they nice and even? Switch on through the glutes rather than your hamstrings. And over we go, and back down again. So you might feel as if when you take your arms over the head, you might feel those abdominal muscles kick in to stabilise the centre. Okay, and we're going to do 2 more of those. So feet nice and flat. Inhale. Exhale, start to curl the spine, lift that spine one vertebra at a time. Mental note of those hips. Little bit of string holding them up towards the ceiling. Inhale, exhale, nice and still through the centre. Don't allow that back to drop. Don't allow those hamstrings to take over. Draw the tummy button back so you're not arching that back, keeping that nice straight line. Back down. And we're going to do 1 more to finish. So make sure your feet are nice and flat. Inhale to prepare. Exhale. Hips gently curling up towards the head. Lifting the spine 1 vertebra at a time. Make sure the hips are level. String bringing them up. Draw back the tummy button so your tummy's not bulging up towards the ceiling. Inhale, exhale. Arms over the head. Inhale, exhale. Arms down, stay there until those arms are down onto the mat. And then replace that spine. Well done. Bring the knees up towards the chest. And have a little roll around. Okay, so we'll just come over and have a quick breather. So just over onto your hands and knees into your cat position. Again, making sure that you're nicely stacked, so you're not pushing back, you're not pushing forward. You're not lifting the back until you want to do so, so you've got a nice line from the crown through to the tailbone. Inhale, exhale, just lift that back. So think about doing this by opening and closing that angle through your hips. Again, as you drop your back down, make sure you're not shoving your head back and creating a big break at the top of the spine. Then back into your neutral position, and then you can just push back into your child's pose, just walking those fingers away. Just nice stretch through that back. Take some breaths. And give yourself a breather for a minute or two. So as you're in your child's pose, think about that breath flow. And you can just walk the fingers a little bit further away from the body, just feel that stretch just under those armpits. And in your own time, you can make your way back up into your starting position so you're on your knees. So we're just going to look a little bit at stretching off those hip flexors. So if you've been sitting a lot, you might find that you're a little bit tight through here, which is really common. These muscles here shorten because they're used to being in this position. So we want to try and think about having those muscles nice and pliable and stretchy. So we're going to come into this position. Think about your positioning, making sure that the knee and the foot are in line on both feet. And then, if you want to, you can take your hand onto your front knee. Little curl into the pelvis. You might find that's enough to give you a stretch, depending on how tight you are or how short those muscles are. Or you can just take the body weight forward a little bit and just increase that stretch a little. If you find that you're starting to grip with the back knee, just reduce the movement a little bit. So remember, you want the muscle at the front of that hip to be stretching. You don't want anything to be gripping. And just take some breaths. Increase a little bit more if you can. And then back to your start position. And then we'll have a swap onto your other leg. So you might find one side is really easy to balance on, one side not so easy. You might find both sides difficult or both sides easy. So you're going to just gently tilt the pelvis again, so you're just almost just pushing that hip forward slightly. And then you can take the body weight forward if you want to. Just increase your stretch a little bit. Remember, don't grip with the knee, don't grip with those calf muscles. So you just want that feeling that you're just stretching front of the hip there. If you want to, you can just increase that stretch a little more. Remember, just keep the pelvis just gently tilted forward a little. Just to increase that stretch. And rest. Okay. So we'll come down onto our fronts now. And we're just going to work a little bit on lengthening through your spine. And we're also going to work just on a little bit of side-to-side balance. So really looking at stability through that body. So we're going to just keep what we spoke about in the first exercise in mind. So that little draw back of the tummy button or that little pull up the pelvic floor. Just so we're engaging, protecting that lower back. We're going to, again, draw a line in the nose. As we do that, we're going to just lift your arms, your head and chest off the mat. And then we're going to keep nice and central on the mat, so no swaying from side to side. We're just going to extend one arm, and then back, keep drawn back with the tummy button. And again, make sure there's no lifting of those knees, no lifting of any hip, and then back down again. So you might find find as you extend one arm that your body wants to either roll that way or roll the opposite way. Just keep an eye on the lower part of your body and make sure there's no lifting up of a knee or pushing of a knee. Everything wants to be still and controlled. So again, draw away with the tummy button, draw that line. Keep that nice line through the neck. Remember, it's an extension of the spine. Extend the arm as the arm stays still. Back to the centre. Extend. Have a little check on what's going on with your body. Back down again. And again. Inhale, draw back with that tummy button. Exhale. Lift, keep a nice line through that spine. Switch off the lower body. Extend without rolling through the body. Extend. Have a little check on the lower body. Down. And we're going to do 2 more. So draw back with that tummy button. Draw that line with the nose. Extend. Extend. Down. And last one. Inhale. Draw away with the tummy button. Lift nice length through the spine. Extend. Extend. And back down. Good. Okay, if you just want to push back, give the back a quick little stretch, then feel free. And then back down onto your fronts. So again, we're going to look at that stability through your trunk, so we're trying to eliminate any side-to-side rolling. So we're going to come now into your breaststroke. So if you notice that your feet weren't doing anything funky on that last exercise, or your knees, you can just roll the heels in to meet each other. So your feet are kind of turned out, and sometimes that just helps just to switch off anything that's going on in that lower body. And then we're going to, again, lengthen through the spine, lift. You're going to hold there using those core muscles or that centre. We're going to reach away, so coming into your breaststroke, reach away, turn the hands. Imagine pushing that water away. And then back to the start, and back down again. And again, drawing away with that tummy button, draw your line, lift nice and long through that spine, forward with the arms, make sure you're not swaying from side to side. Imagine you're in some water swimming. If you sway off to the side, you'd end up going in a wonky line. So imagining just swimming in a nice straight line. Inhale, exhale, lift. Make sure their shoulders don't start to lift towards the ears. Reaching away, keep drawing back with the tummy button. Push that water away, swimming in that nice straight line. Back to your start. And one more. Inhale, tummy button tuck, switch off the lower body. Draw your line with your nose. Stretch away forward without lifting the shoulders towards the ears. Draw back so you're swimming in a nice straight line. And down again. Okay, so push back again up into your child's pose. Keep that back. Good stretch. into our seated position now. So remember, in this one, think about trying to keep both seat bones down onto the floor. You might find it easier to have a cushion underneath you, or if you find that really uncomfortable, you can come into your cross-leg position. I know some of you might find this uncomfortable. And then we're going to look at just stretching off those muscles along the sides and a little bit of just switching on and strengthening through those muscles. So we're going to inhale to prepare. Exhale, reaching over, just supporting with your lower arm. Keeping the seat bone as near to the ground as you can. So you don't want to be lifting that seat bone and getting right over by cheating. And then you're going to shorten up through here and then reaching over, having a stretch in the opposite direction. And again, think about sitting up, crown coming up through the ceiling, or towards the ceiling, should I say. Nice stretch. Really feel that stretch. Allow this arm to just hang nice and heavy. And then start to shorten up. So you're bringing yourself up, using those muscles. You're not pushing yourself up with your underneath arm. And again, last one. So we're going to do 3. Allow that arm to hang nice and heavy. Really reach it down towards the mat. So getting a nice stretch and pull underneath that arm. And then take the arm over the head. Think about drawing shorter with those muscles along the side of the body. Good. Okay, and we'll have a swap over to your other side. So remember, you can think about trying to have both seat bones near down to that mat as you can. We're going to inhale to prepare, exhale, coming down into that stretch. Remember, allow this arm to hang nice and heavy, so you're feeling a nice stretch under those arms. And then coming back up, and stretching over in that opposite direction. Again, down, nice heavy arm. Up and over we go. One more. A nice heavy arm. And back and up and over. Good. Okay, so we'll finish off with some stretches. So we'll just come into your cat position to start with. Just give that back a nice stretch. So just drop the head down nice and heavy. Take some breaths, bring that back up towards that ceiling. And then gently dropping down in the opposite direction. So thinking about the closing and opening of that spine. And then we'll come back into our neutral position. We're going to just bring the toes underneath. We're going to just push the bum up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to walk your hands. You're just going to stay down, take weight forward for a couple of seconds, give those hamstrings a stretch. And then we're going to just come up gradually, just reset that spine up through that spine curl. And then just take those hands, clasp them, push them away from you, open up the upper back. Open up those shoulders. And think about just pushing the hands towards you. Opening up a little bit more. And then you can take those arms up above. Keep that tailbone nicely stacked over your heels, so you're not pushing it out behind you, stretching the front of the body off here. So stretching up towards the ceiling. Keep that tailbone tucked. Little stretch back without pushing that tailbone out, so you'll just hurt your lower back. Stretch up. Take those arms back down into your starting position. Good. Well done everybody, and hope you enjoyed the class, and we will see you next week. What date is it next week? I'm not sure. If it's the last one before Christmas next week, I'm not sure what Fiona's plans are, but if it is, we will have a nice festive one, and we'll do the 12 days of Christmas, because I know you all love that, or if not, we'll do it the week after. I'm not sure what day Christmas is on, I'm not sure which way's up at the moment, but we'll either do that next week or the week after. I'll get Fiona to let you know, and we can have some festive music and maybe a festive jumper one. I might even try and do a Zoom one if I can get my technology sorted out, so we can do a live class, but I will get Fiona to let you know, or I'll post it on the WhatsApp group. So enjoy the rest of your week everybody, see you soon.